Upload live special edition here on this afternoon on a Friday. Many of you may be driving home and going to work, or coming back from work, I should say, or heck, maybe some of you are going to work. But shout out to all of you. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to ERTYU0078. Harold Landry gone. I mean, it's not really a shocker, honestly, but I thought I'd get to hear what you think. The Carter thing's interesting to me. I'll go off on that a little bit later. Not sure how you feel about his comments, which are coming very near when the news was released about Harold Landry. And then New England Patriot fans, you could be getting Harold Landry to reunite with Vrabel. We could also see him go to the Giants, but I wanted to focus more on the New England Patriots. But more importantly, does this solidify the poll question? Does this solidify maybe Abdul Carter having more stock than it going number one? Or is this really not that big of a deal? I'll explain that. So let's talk about Harold Landry gone. I want to start off by saying thank you, Harold Landry. I don't have nothing bad to say about Harold Landry. And, at times, I'll be honest. I think all fan bases do this, and I love the Titan fan base. I do. But I feel like we're all guilty of this at some point where a player gets released and all of a sudden, here comes all the backlash. This guy didn't do this. This guy didn't live up to this. Oh, man, this guy, whatever. I don't really think I feel like that. I don't feel as high as Derrick Henry, so to speak, right? But honestly, I'm very grateful for Harold Landry. Harold Landry, to me, was a successful second-round draft pick. That draft class by John Robinson, the Evans, I believe that was with Evans and Landry, and then there wasn't much else. I could be wrong about that, but the point I'm trying to make is, like, when you go back to John Robinson and some of these draft picks, some of them worked out, some of them didn't. A couple of the ones that were risky picks, but yet the Titans still took them, was Simmons, which that has worked out. Landry has worked out, or did work out. Yeah, some of these other guys, honestly, didn't work out. Caleb Farley, an example of that. To a degree, even Corey Davis, he came in with some injury concerns. He didn't work out either, like we'd hope at pick 5 in the first round. But Landry, to me, solid pass rusher. Always tried his hardest. I was never mad, when they do the watch parties and stuff. I don't ever remember being really mad at Harold Landry, really, for anything. And then obviously he got hurt in 2022, didn't play, but 6 solid seasons. Like I said, 98 games played, over 50 and a half sacks, 9.5 roughly, or 9 last year, 10.5 the year before. And 12 in 2021, the highlight season. The day of the Landry, I remember like the game that would have been the Bengal game, the playoff game. Very high on that team. I know Henry got hurt or whatever against Indianapolis, and that was his comeback game against the Bengals. We were the number 1 seed. But that defensive front, I mean, Robinson built that to a T. Vrabel was a part of that as well. They were scary good. And ultimately, Ryan Tannehill was more interested in throwing it to the other team. And that game, and Todd Downing's pathetic, but that game offensively let us down. Really wasn't anything against the defense, despite what the media or whatever said afterwards. Shout out to Titan South, by the way. And yeah, we'll get to that here in a little bit. He's posting the message, so to speak, afterwards, which kind of wanted to comment on that. But I just wanted to give some positive thoughts to Harold Landry. He deserves it. He was a great Titan. Again, went in the second round for Boston College. Came in, I believe, with the ankle injury. We weren't so sure. But, man, he had one heck of a dip move. And like I said, he gave it his all. I can't think of anything bad to say about Harold Landry. And you know what? I wish him the best. Do I think his best days are behind him? Yes. And I think ultimately that's why the Titans decided to go the way they wanted to. Plus, I get it. $17.5 million, a lot of money. But again, if you were like the Ravens or you were some of these other teams, you pretty much could have had him for nothing. They didn't do it. Nobody wanted Harold Landry, at least for the cost. So he's going to hit free agency, which should clear waivers. And 24 hours or whatever it is, he's ready to sign with the team. I think he should play it low key a little bit, try to build up some interest, see if it's there. Who knows? Maybe he wants to be on a contender, maybe like joining the Chiefs, maybe even the Eagles, because they might be losing some people. But ultimately, it's about comfortability. Where does he feel comfortable with? Bowen in New York? Maybe. Vrabel in New England? Probably, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could. Steven's comments, I think Harold Landry release has made Abdul Carter overconfident. We're going to get into that. Good to get rid of everybody and just stop playing. We suck. We already talked about Tight South message. And Steven says, still the way Abdul Carter's been posting, does anyone want him? So let's get into that. This is going to be a really quick show if we hit the 4:30 time span. Abdul Carter, when he doesn't go number one, I think Upload is going to post a tweet that has a sad emoji, a laughing emoji, and a thumbs down. Because how dare you, if that's what he is doing for, celebrate in your own positivity a player being released. Like, I get it. He doesn't know Harold Landry. Harold Landry don't know him. But not trying to be like a jerk here. And again, I don't know Abdul Carter. Never met him before. I don't know his personality. I don't even know if he actually made that tweet or somebody hacked him. Who knows? I mean, that seems to be the thing you could always say. Oh, well, somebody hacked my account. I didn't do it. But when it comes to Carter, like, I don't know, man. I don't know how you feel about that, but to me, it seems kind of petty. It feels to me like you're a little bit, I don't know, assuming. And I don't think you should be assuming you're going number one at all. I still, Poly market, the betting odds market still would have Cam Ward by a long shot going number one. And I still think maybe Abdul Carter ends up a Titan, but I don't think it's going to be a pick number one. That's just my thoughts. Ocho says, do you think he'll come back? I don't. It's no offense. I think the Titans have washed their hands with him. They're moving on. I don't think Landry is willing to take a pay cut. I don't know that. I haven't talked to him either. But my guess is Landry's ready to move on to a different team. And the Titans are at a weird position right now because on one half, you'll hear the Sam Darnold comments about, hey, I know Paul Kaharski's pretty much came out and said they're not going to sign him. But if you do read between the lines, it's still a possibility. You don't know how much is true because the Titans still got to act like they're somewhat interested in quarterback, but yet not slam the door completely because they're still taking trade offers. So we know how that goes. They kind of got to play it both ways. And I think to Borgonzi and, you know, I think to his degree, all right, I think they're doing a good job of it. Because honestly, me as a Titans guy, you guys as Titan guys, maybe we got some Patriot guys in here. I don't really know for a shadow without a doubt. I'm not putting my lunch money on anything right now because I really don't know. If I had to pick, okay, I'd probably go with Cam Ward here. That's what I mean, I'm not saying I would do it. But what I'm saying is if the Titans were pressed against it and who they were going to pick, I would tend to kind of go with the side of they probably do end up going Cam Ward. And then they have their quarterback so-called for the future. But again, when you go to Sam Darnold, the thing that kind of is one of those things with Darnold, it's like, okay, he might be $45 million or whatever somebody's willing to pay him. You're only going to say, I think it was according to Paul Kaharski, like they're not going to be in it for big money. So you're going in there with small money. $30 million roughly. I heard that on Jared Stillman's show today. They were kind of going round and round about that. Actually, it was yesterday with TD. I just don't think, number one, that's a possibility, but I don't know what's true and what's not true, I guess is my point. But the Titans are a weird spot because if they do spend a lot of money on Sam Darnold, that's going to eat up a lot of cap room. This does save you 10.5 or whatever million it is. He was due 17.5. There's going to be some dead cap. Now, from what I read on X, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. This is not going to be a post-June 1st cut, so they won't be saving that extra $7.5 million or whatever it is. So they do a nice service to Landry, let him go find another team before really Monday. I know a lot of us get caught up on the Wednesday, the official day. These guys, honestly, they're probably already back channeling it. I said, I know no one's going to believe me here, but, when you go back to the Tom Brady, when he ended it with New England and went to the Bucs, like, supposedly, they were already trying to find friends of Tom, jobs with the Bucs. Like, that was happening. And that was happening way before it was happening. And again, the combine would be an example of that too. They get the kind of, hey, agents kind of saying, hey, what are we thinking here? And that's why maybe the Titans already know they're out on Darnold. And they know, like, hey, the starting price is going to be like $45 million. I'm just saying this hypothetically. And maybe they're like, hey, we're not paying $45 for Sam Darnold. We'll just get it out there right now. We're done. We're not interested. We don't even want to be attached to it. We don't want them using the name Titans to get in a bidding war because we're out. And I totally understand. There's got to be a reason they told PK that, by the way. And I agree, Ocho. I think Landry ends up going, and I'll root for him. I'm not going to root for him against my Titans, but I'll root for him as a person. And like I said, I don't think Landry could have given us much more, man. He was legit, and just ultimately, he gets hurt, and he was never able to. Again, 19 and a half sacks in 2 years isn't terrible. It's pretty good, but for the amount of money he's making, sure. Steven says, seriously, would be passing on Carter, probably for Cam Ward. And again, I'm going to get a lot of comments post about it. You don't care about the tweets and all that stuff by Carter, and that's fine. I don't really care either. If he can play football, he plays football, and just draft a number one, we'll get behind him. But I just think it looks petty. Not going to lie to you. I think it looks petty to put something out there when a guy gets released, especially when you don't even, as far as I know, you don't even know him. Ward would be offensive rookie of the year as well. Well, we had a guy like that at Vince Young, and we know that didn't work out. Oiler Titan Landry signing in 2021 actually spearheaded A.J. Brown's departure in 2022. I had told the Titan fans that then Landry sacks were created by inside pressure, and he was gifted many sacks. Now, I will say this. He did not have like a variety of moves. He wasn't Lawrence Taylor, but you aren't going to find anyone better, I don't think, in the dip move. It's just, how long does the dip move actually last? But still, Landry created some pressure. We were better with Landry than without Landry. And I don't think anybody really could say otherwise. Titan Hugo, what's up, buddy? If the Titans draft Carter, then what has changed in the front office of always drafting injured players? Good point. It's a very good point. I'd stay away from them. I know there are people that have went on the record and commented on this channel, like trying to call me out about this injury. I don't know about the injury, just like you don't know about the injury. And as of right now, I don't even know if the Titans know about the injury. We don't know if it happened during the season last year at Penn State. We don't know if it happened before the season started last year. We don't know if it happened in training this year, getting ready for the draft. We have no idea. Doctors will finally figure it out and tell the team. They are not going to be able to lie about it, of course. So they'll have a good understanding before, obviously, he gets drafted. And then we do honor Landry and Vince Young. Let's just throw that out there because we love Vince Young. And I believe it was Vince Young that gave us honor Landry and the draft. So comment, let me know. I feel that Landry probably does end up going to the Patriots. I feel like the Patriots are starting to find more of their identity behind their coach, Vrabel. I know last year, I get it. I wouldn't have fired the coach either in Mayo. Thought Mayo was kind of in a tough spot, man, with Kraft. I know it was part of his contract. I'm not a Patriots guru. I'm not going to get involved in that. But, yeah, it does seem kind of slimy to get rid of Mayo and bring in, obviously, Vrabel. But I think that's kind of what they wanted to do from the start. And I guess it makes sense because we always heard as Titan fans that why would you not trade Vrabel if you knew you were going to move on from him? And they'll say, oh, well, Amy didn't know at that time, but maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But now that makes sense if that was a part of the contract that they knew he was definitely coming back. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But again, Harold Landry, 50 and a half sacks, 19 and a half sacks over the last 2 years. If you add the non-injured year and you just go back to 2021, you're all the way up to 31 and a half sacks in 3 years. So just about over, 10 sacks a year guy. He also got you 9 sacks in 2019 and 4.5 sacks in his rookie debut. So that's Harold Landry. again, I thought Harold Landry, if you had a great amount, I'd give him a solid B+ across the board as far as a draft pick. I thought he was solid, well worth a number 2 pick, I should say second round pick. And I thought he helped really catapult the defense, and he was a major part of that. Get to some of your comments before we close out the show. Titan Hugo says, drafting a top defensive player hasn't changed much. Like franchise look at like Garrett, Micah Parsons, and Joey Bosa. It's a good point. I only flip it around and say, okay, and maybe it'd be different if we sucked back in the day when we took Javon Curse. But we were an 8-8 football team. You know, there's a lot of us that, you know, we fell into the trap. And again, it happens, I guess. We fell in the trap that we thought we were going to be good this year. And we ultimately know we were not very good. And we ended up with the number 1 overall pick. But my point is, back in 1999, before that season debuted at Delphia Coliseum versus the Bengals, like, we were coming off another 8-8 year. But the Titans were always on the cusp. It's like they were good in games, and you get behind them, and then they'd lose games they shouldn't, and they end up 8-8. And that's the whole Fisher thing, the 8-8 thing, 8-8, 8-8. But that year it clicked, and the reason why it clicked is, yeah, Eddie George is a stud. McNair wasn't even really McNair yet. Yeah, he'd run every once in a while for 49 yards. He'd be like, wow, and he'd make some nice throws. But again, it wasn't necessarily McNair with his arm yet. I mean, that comes a little bit later in his career, a couple of years later. The real driving force behind the change, all of a sudden, taking an 8-8 team to a 13-3 team who still finished second in the division to the Jaguars, who end the year with 15 wins and 3 losses, and all 3 losses were to the Titans. It was Javon Curse. So I get your argument for some of you saying, yeah, don't take Carter, whatever, at number 1. But then I also see the flip side of it, how it can make you better. And again, you look at the Cowboys. Yeah, the Cowboys have sucked. But the Cowboys without Parsons versus Cowboys with Parsons, I think see a big difference there too. So it's just kind of how you blend it together with quarterback. And it just seems like apparently unless they're lying to us again, they're out on Darnold. So unless you're going Jameis Winston, I mean, those guys aren't going to work. So unless you're going to trade for a guy, I should say, I mean, obviously they're probably going to either go into the year and sabotage it and suck. Brian Callahan's out of here. Or maybe they actually take Cam Ward. They actually take him. There's not enough driving force behind it. You're seeing the Giants kind of flustered, false reports or whatever, coming out with Aaron Rodgers. You know, the Raiders are now, they're interested in Rodgers or whoever they're interested in. They're interested in the quarterback. Somebody's going to take Darnold, though. From the Jets, Titans, doesn't look like the Titans, Raiders, Giants. I think one of those 4 teams are going to take Sam Darnold. Now, he could quite honestly go back to Minnesota, too. So that will probably, I would think, happen before Sunday. Rave says, get both Cam Ward and Abdul Carter, problem solved. If it was that easy, I wish we could, man. JD3, depends on how they see the quarterbacks that matters. Everyone assumes they are Jaden Daniels. It's their job to figure that out. That's true. And last year, no one wanted Jaden Daniels, but everyone was trying to figure out who Caleb Williams was, right? Everyone's trying to draft the Caleb Williams, and it ended up being Caleb Williams still turned around, don't get me wrong, but it was Jaden Daniels, the one they were supposed to. Well, interested about the sophomore slump from Jaden Daniels. We'll see if it happens, as it kind of has happened to a lot of guys. Vince Young, we know about, but yeah, even CJ Stroud didn't have an amazing year in Houston. Pick Wickle, what's up? Tighten up to you. And good afternoon. Well, I'm out. Definitely leave a comment. Hit that like button. Help us out. Only 10 likes. You guys were putting comments in here galore. I appreciate you guys. Again, Harold Landry out. Is Arden Key going to be next? I mean, at this point, just keep trimming and trim, because you have to rebuild this thing. And no offense, Jeffrey Simmons, I know he's upset about it and all that kind of stuff. But again, Harold Landry, I'd be upset too. Harold Landry was a good guy, and the Titans will miss him. He was a veteran. He was a good piece. You could always count on him, and he way overproduced than we thought he was with the injury. And he just, I don't want to say he's a step slow, But, 15 quarterback hits last year, 21 the year before, 22 the year before. Like, it's dropping off a little bit. It's just you're saving $10.5 million. You don't want to kind of keep going that long term. You just flat out don't think. Borgonzi, let's just be honest, or Chad Brink, either one of those guys, just don't think he's worth the money. And can't find a trade partner. No one even flip-flop 7th-round picks with you. So they're doing Landry a service by letting him go. And it's not going to be, from what we're told, a post-June 1st cut. So they're not going to be able to really save the 17.5. It's going to be more like 10.5. So you guys take care and tighten up. And like I said, Sunday, free agency. Let's talk about it. We'll have a show on Sunday for sure, breaking it all down. It might be quite a long show. It might be one of our 2 to 3 hour shows, which we haven't had in a long time other than watch parties. And then we know our guy, like I said, Power Hour will be going live Monday as free agency is upon us, man. Busy time. Let's take a little break from the draft. Let's get ready for this free agency period. Titans are going to spend a little money. I just don't know on who. But anyways, take care. Tighten up, everybody.